Hi everybody, welcome to a very special edition of Bryan Says Words. I want to tell you about something that happened to me last year. I had been working at my job on a project that was very important for me and for my workplace. It didn't go very well for me. I had a lot of struggle, and I felt very anxious. I suffer from anxiety as well as depression. And in this situation, I felt very anxious. I had panic attacks at work for several days in a row, fairly constant. And at one point, I felt so out of control that I looked around my office for anything that could help me. Not this office, but a different one. And I found a screwdriver. Happened to be a nice long flathead screwdriver. And I attempted to stab myself. There's really no other way to put it. I didn't. Although I did kind of tenderize myself a little bit, poke myself in certain places, but I knew that it wasn't a good idea. But the feeling was so overwhelming that I couldn't. It was very compelling. My coworkers. Well, eventually I told them about it. I had to tell them about it because I was in danger from doing something dumb. This happened more than once with various implements, and by that point it was apparent that it was a big problem. And my coworkers stopped what I was doing. They took me to the hospital, where I was able to begin getting some counseling from various agencies. And I went to some therapy. I've been taking different medications. And I'm feeling a lot better now. I'm feeling much better now, as they used to say on Night Court. I'm telling you this today because today is Bell Let's Talk Day, ending the stigma of mental illness. I suffer from anxiety and depression. In fact, I have for a little more than a decade, at least that I'm aware of. And I wanted to tell you that story because there is a stigma around mental illnesses such as anxiety and depression, and so a lot of people don't like to talk about it. It's personal, that's understandable. But I wanted to tell you about it because I know a lot of people, and maybe my speaking out might help somebody. I don't know. It certainly can't hurt. Lots of people suffer from anxiety and depression and other mental illnesses as well. I'm speaking of anxiety and depression today because those are the ones that I'm more familiar with. A lot of people suffer from them. I know when I found out that I was suffering from it, I didn't want to know that other people suffered from it, that it was so common. I wanted to feel like I was kind of special, which is silly, but that's how I felt at the time. I felt discouraged that so many people suffered from it, not just me. But you can take that as some comfort. It is quite common, and it is very treatable in most cases. So if you feel that this is something that you might be suffering from, and you have not sought treatment now or in the past, there's help for you. First of all, there's a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to these mental illnesses. A lot of people think that you're just sad, or you're mopey, or you're lazy. That's not really what it's like. It is a chemical imbalance in your brain that makes you artificially sad or artificially depressed. At least well, in the case of depression. Doesn't mean that you can't be happy sometimes. I have a lot of happy moments. I laugh. I enjoy things. But when untreated, the depression is what takes over when you're not flexing those muscles. So some people say they have bitch face. You know, when their face is just at rest, that kind of looks like you're in a bad mood. And that's kind of the way I think of depression. When you're not actively thinking about good things, your default at rest mode is depressed. So it's kind of like bitch face for your brain. I have, in the case of anxiety, everybody has different ways of dealing with it. I deal with it through therapy and lessons that I learned through therapy. Also, I take different kinds of antidepressants. I posted a photo on Facebook and Twitter this morning of me taking my pills because I wanted people to know that I take it and that I'm not ashamed of it. And you don't have to be either. Some people don't like the idea of antidepressants as a concept. I understand that. But I think that kind of thinking is based on a misunderstanding of what they do. A lot of people think, kind of like the movie Brain Candy, you know, people take a pill and it just makes them sort of artificially happy and cutting out all of reality. And it's not really what they do. If you're suffering from a chemical depression, then you are artificially sad. And antidepressants can help you to alleviate that, not to necessarily feel happy, but to feel appropriate to the situation that you're in. The analogy I like to use is a shopping cart that has a broken wheel. Alright, if your brain is a shopping cart, depression is a broken wheel. So if you're moving that shopping cart, the broken wheel is making you always kind of lean to the left. You know, leaning to the left. Doesn't mean you can't go right, but it's really difficult to move that cart to the right, you know? The antidepressants is like fixing that wheel. Fixing the wheel doesn't make the cart go right. It just allows you to go right if that's where you need to go. You can also go left if that is also where you need to go. Is that a dumb analogy? I don't know, but it's the one that works for me. After I had my episode, I guess you might call it, at work, the one I spoke of earlier, I was off work for a couple of months. My coworkers were very cool about my condition. They were very sympathetic. I felt embarrassed. I felt apologetic. And, you know, people said I didn't have to. If you have a mental illness, it's no different than having some other kind of illness. You wouldn't have to apologize if you had the flu or something else that prevented you from working. That said, you know, if you break your leg and you're off work for a while, you know, it's different than if you try to stab yourself with a screwdriver and you take a little while off. People are going to think about it differently. That's understandable. So although we're trying to remove the stigma of mental illness, I say we, I mean, it's an understandable one, and is best fought through education and understanding and sympathy, empathy. You know, a lot of people suffer in silence. You don't have to. If you suffer from depression, you can go and see your doctor. If you suffer from anxiety, definitely go see your doctor. Because that ain't right. That took me a long time to get to. I thought it was something that I just had to get over. I thought it was something I could control if I just thought about it hard enough. But ultimately, if it is a chemical imbalance in your brain, you can't will that away. You've got to get help. Some people take the antidepressants or the different drugs. Some people don't. It depends on the person. Maybe the drugs are right for you, maybe they're not. But don't be afraid of them because you think it's going to harm your personal identity. It won't. That's not how they work. It's not how any of this works. That's just from my personal experience. I think they're great. They're not perfect. They do have a lot of side effects that are unpleasant, but are preferable to stabbing yourself with a screwdriver. Put it that way. If you need help, go see your doctor. If you're not sure if this is something you suffer from, I recommend a website. It's the Ontario Mental Health Association website. It's called checkupfromtheneckup.ca. Again, that's checkupfromtheneckup.ca. You go there, and there is a questionnaire that you fill out. Fill it out honestly. Don't leave anything out. Fill it out no matter what's going on right now. You might say, well, there's extenuating circumstances in a lot of these questions. Questions like, have you been feeling depressed, for certain amounts of time? Or have you felt thoughts of harming yourself? All these things. Answer them honestly. They're professionals. It's not a doctor. It won't diagnose you, but it can give you some ideas about what might be going on from the neck up, and at least a starting point for you to work from. So even if you don't feel that you are suffering from mental illness, check it anyway. It can't hurt. You know what? This weekend is my birthday. Consider it a birthday present to me. If you will go to checkupfromtheneckup.ca and fill out the survey. That would mean a lot to me. It's not funny. It's not just that you're sad, but you can get seriously hurt. If you're watching me right now and if you are feeling that you are in danger, that you may harm yourself, stop watching this video right now and go and call 911. And I'm not kidding. You don't need to get hurt over this. It's completely treatable, and there's support out there for people who need it. So, that was us talking. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I've forgotten about, but if anybody out there wants to ask me some questions about my experience or things that I feel free to ask. You can ask me publicly here on this YouTube video or on Facebook, or send me a private message. I don't mind. I got time for you. Okay? So, this video is a bit longer than I expected, but that's okay. It's important. Let's talk, end the stigma, get help if you need it. Thanks.